Welcome back to the Demon Slayer Gaming Channel. We're going to be continuing our Final Fantasy XIV Dungeon Guide series today, and we're going to be taking a look at Anamnesis, Anyder. After the video, if this helped you out in any way, please make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel so you do not miss any of our Final Fantasy XIV content. Starting off, you'll be riding on the back of Bismarck under the water, and there will be several enemies that will come to you as you proceed on. The squid unit will have a short frontal line AoE that you can easily move out of. As you kill the other units, more will come to replace them. When the squid dies, a large manta ray will replace him. This manta ray will have a frontal cone AoE that you'll just want to move out of, along with a circular AoE around himself. Once all these units are dead, after a short time, 2 rocks will fall onto the battle arena, which will then turn into Trench Dragonites. These units have a very large cone AoE that you can back out of. You'll then have to deal with a very large jellyfish enemy. This enemy will do a circular AoE on a random party member. For the first boss, when he casts Fetid Fang, this will just be a tank buster ability that will need to be healed through. He moves to the center of the platform and casts Scrutiny. Then it'll summon AoEs around the entire platform, along with a rotating dial that when it stops, the boss will do an AoE in that direction. So you'll want to position yourself in the opening of the circular AoEs, but not in front of the boss where the dial is. Inscrutability will cause party-wide damage and a bleed effect to everyone that will cause minimal damage afterwards. When he gets down to half HP, he will summon an additional copy of himself. This copy will begin casting Ectoplasmic Ray, which will be a line AoE that is split between everyone in the AoE, so you'll want to group up. After this, the Unknown will begin having untelevised frontal line AoEs that you'll just have to watch for the orb growing in his mouth to avoid. You'll want to focus down the one that was already low on HP to reduce the amount of AoEs that you're having to deal with. When the first one dies, the second one will cast Plain Weirdness, increasing the amount of damage that he does for the rest of the fight. Make sure that you're grouping up for Electroplasmic Ray, and then getting out in front of the boss for Luminous Ray. In the second area, the only one that has an AoE you'll need to worry about is the large unit, which will have a circular AoE that is thrown at a random party member. After this, she'll be attacked by several Sahagan units. Multiple of them will be casters, so you'll need to make sure that you're grouping them up around the casters, as they will have a harder time coming to you. These casters will also do large circular AoEs that you'll just want to move out of, and then the harpooners will do cone AoEs in front of them. This should bring you to the second boss, Cyclops. When he casts the final verse, this will be party-wide damage. It just has to be healed through. Eye of the Cyclone will be a donut AoE around the boss, so you'll want to get under him to avoid this. When he moves to the center of the platform and casts Terrible Hammer, followed by Terrible Blade. This will mark the floor with 2 different AoEs. They will detonate in the order that he summons them. So after casting 2000 Menace Swing, which is a large circular area around himself, the first AoEs will detonate, followed by the second ones. So you'll want to move off of the platforms onto the ones that have already detonated to avoid this. He will then cast Raging Glower, which will be a long line AoE in front of him. 2000 Menace Swipe will be a frontal cone AoE that you'll just want to jump behind the boss to avoid. When he moves to the center of the platform again, he will rotate the Terrible Blade and Terrible Hammer AoEs, and then do a group up AoE. You'll want to make sure you're positioning yourself on the AoE that will explode second, as shortly after the group AoE hits, the first one will explode. In the final area, you'll have more Sahagans to deal with. So remember, the Harpooners have frontal cone AoEs, and then the Diviners have large circular AoEs and are spellcasters, so you'll want to actually tank on top of them. The Diviners in this area will also cast Recharge on the capsules. If you are able to kill them before the Recharge finishes casting, then an additional ad will not be summoned from this capsule. If you cannot, then you'll have to deal with an additional ads that come out of them. Ideally, in the next area, you'll want to kill at least 2 of the 3 Diviners to reduce the number of ads that you'll have to deal with. Depending on which ads you get from the capsules, they will have different AoEs that you'll need to keep an eye out for. For the final boss, I believe this is our first encounter with a beautiful Sahagan woman. When she casts Bone Breaker, this will be a single target damaging ability on the tank that would just need to be healed through. When she jumps to one side of the platform and begins casting Seabed Ceremony, it will put an AoE in the center of the platform. He will then cast Death Grip, which will summon multiple hands out of the middle of the arena. You'll want to position yourself in front of one of the ones that's facing away from you, as they will charge forward, doing an AoE across the platform. While this is happening, the boss will mark 2 party members with circular AoEs that you'll want to spread out to avoid hitting other party members with. And then after the hands crash across the platform, the boss will emit a cross-shaped AoE centered on herself. After this, the different grates around the room will begin to bubble, and if you do not stand on them before she finishes casting Seabed Ceremony, then ads will come out of the grates and you'll have to pick them up and burn them down. The third Seabed Ceremony will summon AoEs on the left and right of the platform, and then Death Grip will summon hands out of these AoEs. AoEs will then start charging across the platform from the left to right side. You'll want to group up on one side, and then after the first one finishes charging across, then you'll pop your sprint or just charge to the other side to avoid the AoEs from the other side of the platform. When she jumps to the center of the platform again and the grates begin to bubble, she'll also cast Death Grip. This will summon multiple hands on the outside of the platform. You will need to stand on the grates that are not in front of the hands. The ads that come out of the grates in front of the hands will immediately be killed by the hands when they charge across. Flying Fount will do a group up AoE that you'll just want to group up to spread the damage. Command Current will do multiple cone AoEs that you'll just want to stand in the openings to avoid. The next Seabed Ceremony and Death Grip will replicate the first time it was cast. So you'll just want to position yourself accordingly. This should be it for Anamnesis Anyder. I hope this helped everyone out. If it did, please make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I will catch you on the next one.